Hey folks, it's Tom, your frugal prepper. So I got this Buick LeSabre. I think this one's either an 04 or an 05, I'm not sure. But customers complaining that it's vibrating or shaking, the wheel's shaking, and it started just at lower speeds, like under 30 miles an hour. But now it does it, and it does it even worse at higher speeds. So I'm just going to kind of show you. I'm going to take this for a test drive, and we'll get this diagnosed and see what the problem is. It's a good possibility on these could be a wheel bearing. I may have replaced enough of them, but we just want to be sure before we go repairing parts. And I've learned on these kind of shake and vibration issues, just take it for a drive and duplicate the issue before you get started. Alright, so the first thing I just always come up here and do is just feel these tires and see if there's a broken belt in them anywhere, or if there's a bulge in it. And I don't feel anything on this tire. It looks good. So I'll just come around. We'll do that on all four corners. One thing about these bigger Buicks I've noticed is sometimes you can have a back wheel bearing and you'll swear that it's vibrating in the front or tire or whatever. I take a look down here at the brakes and rotors. They look like there's no big gouges in them or anything. If you just look kind of down in the down inside here, don't touch it because it might be really hot if they just drop the car off. I've burnt my finger enough times. I mean, these tires feel okay. They're Coopers. They look like they got pretty decent tread on them. Well, that's a Cooper. This is a Milestar. That's a Chinese tire. Let's take a look here and see. Just curious. Doesn't really matter to me. I think that's another Cooper. Can't really tell with the sun in my eyes. So it looks like it's got Coopers on 3 wheels, and probably there was some damage to a tire up here at one point, and it got replaced with this cheap Chinese tire, which can't always be a part of the problem. I found. But let's go take it for a drive and see what she does. Alright, we're going to get this little down going. So we got a little bit of a misfire there. Oh, okay. Definitely has an exhaust leak. It's got a bad motor mount. I can feel the motor jumping when I'm revving it. It definitely has a service engine soon light. That's probably a catalyst error from the exhaust leak. And it's got a gas cap loose, check cap message on the dash. It probably has a leak, evap leak. Got some squeaky suspension. Kind of crammed up against the steering wheel. I try not to move the customer's seats if I can help it, because sometimes they won't move back. Oh, yikes. Yeah, she's really got a bad shake. At a very low speed. That's usually a tire problem. It feels like it's from the front driver's side, and it's kind of pulling the wheel that direction. Wow. So I'll see if I can get you a shot of the wheel shaking here. We'll put the brakes on. With the brakes on, the shimmy gets less severe. Much less severe with the brakes on. Yeah, when I hit the brake good and hard, it quiets right down. So what that tells me is we might have a wheel bearing issue. I'm just going to turn it around because this thing's shaking so bad I don't really want to drive it too much. See if I can find a good spot to turn it around here. She's just shaking. It almost feels like it might be shaking from the back. Wheel bearings are not uncommon on these either, although the front's more often the problem. A lot of times on these, if the back passenger's going bad, it'll feel like it's shaking in the front, right? But as much as it's moving the wheel, we got something bad going on up front, for sure, I think. Let me just kind of hold the camera back to show you here. It's pulling to one side pretty bad too, so I gotta kind of keep a hand on it. You can see the wheel. So something's bad under there. And now if I take this apart and I don't see anything loose, we'll try rotating the tire front to back and see if it moves. Alright, so I kind of done crawled under this and looked around. There's a little bit of play from side to side right here. And it does have a bad outer tie rod end, but not severely bad that would cause that kind of vibration. Up to down is fine. Side to side, fine. Or diagonal, side to side. And this way, I have a little play. And I already crawled under and looked, and that tie rod end's got a little play in it. The strut on this side is leaking oil. It's a bad strut, but again, it's not going to cause that problem. The other side, the strut's good. There's no play. I don't see a tie rod end causing that kind of problem. So I just spun this tire nice and slow, and there is a dip right here in the tire. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but so right here, if I'm feeling this tire all around, there's a big dip in it right here, and then it comes back up. So I don't know how well that dip will show up on camera. I'll try. But right here's our dip. Somebody hammered them things on there. Wow. Well, I'm under here. I'm just going to take a look. You can see where all the oil has it's been leaking down out of the strut, and it's all collected up right here. So it needs a strut. And my thought would be maybe something really hard got hit that cut the belt in the tire, probably blew the seals out of the strut. This strut's not actually that old, but this tie rod end's also bad. But tie rod ends, while there's something to address, they're not typically going to cause that kind of shaking. Ball joints aren't either. So for something like that, you're looking at like something that's spinning to cause that kind of shaking. At low speeds, it's usually a tire. So let's get this back one off and see. Alright, so here's maybe a good shot of what I'm seeing. Let me rotate this out. You'll see that this side over here starts to raise up. Right in here. So much higher the one side is than the other. There's a bulge right there. It kind of continues all the way around that tire. But I don't even know that I need to rotate it. I mean, I know that tire is bad. I'm going to call the customer and see if they want me to run over to the used tire place and get them a tire while they're open. I was trying to show you where this bulge is in the tire right there. This tread should be flat, right? And so I kind of marked it here a little bit where this tire sinks down in, and that side's all up higher. It should be flat. That's cool. I've seen plenty of them break to where they come out, but I haven't seen that sinking down in the middle before. I don't do a lot of tire repair, so that's pretty cool. So I'll run this over to the used tire place for the customer and get this changed out. There's only, my favorite one's not open on Sunday, but we're gonna take it to the one that is open. All right, I'm on my way over to the tire shop here. Let's talk real quick. You know, a lot of people give me a lot of flack on my Westlake tire video. I'll put a thing up here to it. Those tires were junk, and I actually did end up running them on the Hyundai in the rear, and now I got the other two on the rear right now, and can't run them in the front. They vibrate too bad. They're out of round. But I figure I'll burn them up now that that car mostly just goes across town occasionally, and my son's gonna eventually drive it, but just in town. But these Chinese tires, I consistently see premature failures, broken belts, sidewalls ripping out of them. Just a lot of problems with these cheap Chinese tires. You know, if you need an affordable tire that's not too expensive, go get yourself a set of decent Goodyears. Even some Douglas from Walmart, which is made by Goodyear, is better than these cheap Chinese pieces of crap tires. And I just don't get it. Like, it's just not worth it. You pay so much to get the tire and get it mounted and balanced. It's not that big of a savings. You know, it's 100 or 150, 200 bucks maybe tops that you're saving over a decent tire that's going to last a long time. It's going to stop better. It's going to perform better. You know, if it's your primary vehicle that you're driving every day, and you can't go wrong with a set of Goodyears in my book. Coopers, I've had a little mixed experience with them as far as just ride quality, but I don't think you can go wrong with some Yokohamas. I don't think you can go wrong with Michelin at all. My favorite tire, but you can't always get it in the size you want, is Toyo. That's my personal favorite. My second favorite is a Goodyear. I just have consistently seen those tires last and wear and handle and just have a good balance all around. And you know, you can't go wrong with Pirelli, right? If you got that kind of money, other than Pirelli might not do as good in the snow and stuff. It'll be a better performance tire on dry pavement a lot of times. They're built for performance. But you know, I know when you're trying to just get by and it's going to save you a couple $100 to go with some cheap Chinese things, it's real tempting, but they just don't last. And you know, if it fails in the wrong way at the wrong time at the wrong speed on a curve, on a road, it could kill you, right? It's just not worth it. Anyway, I'm gonna go get a used tire put on this car, see what we can figure out. You know, this customer's on a budget, and try to get them going. Try to get something that looks decent and is decent in Chinese if we can. Sometimes there's slim pickings at the used tire place, though. Alright, so I got the tire. It's in the back. It's actually got good meat on it. It's a decent looking tire. And so you know, they charged me $60 for the tire, $5 for disposal, which I don't need extra tires laying around anymore. You know, I got enough. And then they went ahead and charged me like $4 or something in tax. So it was like $69.71 altogether. I would have been happier getting out the door for $50, but you know, when I looked at the guy and said H&W would have that cheaper, like it'd be a $45 or $50 at H&W, is their competitor, and they looked and they said, well, H&W isn't open on Sundays, and they're right. But there's no other place open on Sunday to get tire work done in this town, so. Is what it is. It'll get the customer going on down the road, and I'll probably just charge them like $30 for my gas time to change out their tire. I mean, you know, I guess they needed somebody to diagnose what it was for sure, but at the same time, they could have probably just took it to a tire shop and had it done themselves, right? They could have just pulled into that place with their car and had it changed and been out of there. So I feel bad charging them too much. And you know what? When their car does actually need mechanical work or whatever done, they'll pay me, and they're good customers, so I'll take care of them. But I mean, normally I charge $75 for a diagnostic, and the people that I like that are really good customers, I might go $50 for a diagnostic. But in this case, I'll probably do the like $30, just to cover my time, trouble, and gas. You know, I've got to make something. You know, I can't drive around and work on cars and use my tools all day and make nothing, no profit for it. And maybe I probably need to start charging even more. I don't know. But you know, I do a lot of this kind of stuff for my customers, which is just figuring out what's wrong and just getting it fixed for them. And you know, with this car is kind of a prime example. It's got, I'm sure, evap codes saying the gas cap isn't tight. You know, who knows? I haven't even looked at that. It's got check engine light. I didn't look at that. And I might scan it real quick, but that's not what they really asked me to look at. And it runs. It's got an exhaust leak. You know, it's got other problems. But I fix a lot of times just what the customer needs to get rolling down the road and get back and forth to work. Here in Ohio, we don't have any type of emissions testing or vehicle inspections. So, you know, there's no worry if the check engine light's on to keep driving. In fact, I commented on Joe's Auto Electrics channel the other day where he's talking about how customers will come in for one problem, they'll fix it, and then it'll run through the cycle, right? You know, it hasn't done its full test for emissions yet. It runs through the full emission cycle, and then it discovers something else is wrong. Like, it had a bad O2 sensor, so it couldn't read the converter. And then they fix that, and then it turns out the converter's bad. And then the customer's like, well, I paid you to fix my check engine light. You know, and that's just not an issue here. If the car runs fine, nobody cares if the check engine light's on, right? If a customer paid me to make the check engine light go out, then I would have to take it for a full drive cycle and make sure it was out, right? You know, but customers don't pay me for that. They typically bring it to me because it shakes, or it doesn't run right, or it won't accelerate, or it's not stopping right, right? They're bringing it to me for a specific issue that needs fixed. And they don't care that the check engine light's been on for 3 years, right? So that can be a little bit hard to deal with when you're dealing with a drivability issue, and maybe this thing's had a code for running rich or lean for 5 years, but it's been running okay, and they've ignored it, and now all of a sudden it's having a problem, and it's and you've got another code for something else, right? And which one is it, right? That can be a little bit, you know, of a reason to fix things as they break, maybe, so that your check engine light's not on all the time. But I run into a lot of this where I just do what's needed to get the car back on the road. On this one, I am going to see if I can get another strut out of the junkyard for them that's decent, or we can go with a cheap, you know, aftermarket eBay, Amazon one, and I'll just change the spring and stuff out on it. The strut on the other side's perfectly dry. Like I say, I have a feeling that hit some kind of pothole or something really hard on that side. I took out the tire, broke the belt in the tire, and probably ruined the strut too. So, you know, that's just what I do. That's my specialty, is taking the 10-year-old car, the 12-year-old car, the 15-year-old car, right, and putting it back together good enough to get that person by for a little while. I have customers all the time that tell me, like, we just need to get by for a few more months. We just need to get by till we get our taxes back, and we're going to get another car. And I fix their car, and they're still driving it 2 or 3 years later. And then they bring it back to have it duct taped back together again, and that's fine. It's all money. I fix the old cars because it's the old cars that need fixed. You see, this is why I gotta start using my own tire shop again. That's crap. It just sold me this used tire, and look at that shit. Just damn screw in the thing. It's a Goodyear. So I just have to plug it real quick. I'm not driving all the way back over there. All right, let's go ahead and fix this tire that I paid him $69 freaking for. Got my Mark Fox sent me some stuff. I'm gonna use it. I think it needs to tighten up in there a little bit. Alright. Other than that, we look okay. Doesn't have any bulges in it. It's got a decent amount of tread on it. So, we'll go ahead and get this sucker back on here. Alright, let's take her for a spin. She's not wobbling on the way down the driveway this time. I think we might have it. Oh yeah, there's a 05 LeSabre coilover spring thingy bombs they put in the back of these always squeak. Alright, here we go. Oh yeah. Still has just a little bit of a shaking to it. It's not like it was. There's still something else going on. But it's very minor. It might still have an issue with that tie rod end is a little loose. Could be a back wheel bearing, but it's riding pretty darn smooth. I think that's that loose tie rod end, because I can move the wheel back just a little bit like this, and it's not really moving it on the road. So it does need a tie rod end. You know, it's up to them whether they want to fix that or wait till it's time to get like tires in alignment or whatever. Telling me to check the tire pressures, loose gas cap. Well, I just checked all the tire pressures. Maybe it thinks they're a little too high or something. I put like 36 pounds in them. This should be fine. I don't know. This has got the older panel that won't actually tell you the actual PSI. It's the old, you know, like first gen TPMS stuff. I don't know what this thing felt like before that started happening, if this is normal for it or this is part of the issue. It's not pulling in one direction or another when I hit the brakes. It does sound like there's something loose in the back end on the suspension. I definitely hear it. when I hit a bump. But it's not shaking itself off the road anymore. So I'd say it's 99% better than it was. This poor old creaky old car. If I owned it, I'd give it some TLC, tighten all the suspension up. I mean, these Buick LeSabres are awesome cars. I might fix that dash where it's bubbling up. I'd probably just put it back together a little at a time. Those rear struts are pretty squeaky too when they're stretching. That's the problem on a car with this kind of miles. You know, you probably really just need to rip all the suspension, bushings, ball joints, everything out, and just replace it all. Which isn't as expensive as you think, because you can usually buy aftermarket control arms and struts and everything. But you know, it probably just all needs done. But we took care of the biggest part of the issue. I don't want to go too crazy about tie rod end until they would replace that strut, because that thing's leaking pretty bad and it might actually be loose. Might be a part of the problem too. So we'll wait till we get the strut done and see how it feels after that. Alright, so it still has just the tiniest bit of shimmy in the wheel, but you don't feel the whole car shaking or anything. And that is like once it gets below 30. So I don't know if that was the original complaint and then something happened to the tire that made it really bad, or if that's just a kind of a little shaking that it did before. I did a water pump on this a while back, but I just let it heat up and stuff. I didn't actually take it for a test drive afterwards, so I don't know. Last time I test drove this, it's probably 2 or 3 years ago when I did rear brakes on it. So there's definitely something rattling around on the rear suspension, but again, that's not causing the shaking because it's in the steering wheel. The steering wheel's moving just a bit. That's probably either that tie rod end, bad strut, something going on up there. So I'm gonna tell them like to drive it and let me know what they think, and then we'll get that strut from the junkyard, see if it gets any better after that, and then we can try to do a tie rod in, but they're gonna have to get an alignment after I do that, most likely. We try to do a hillbilly alignment, but you know, they really should get it aligned. So we'll see what happens. I'll talk to you later. It's Tom, Frugal Prepper.